Hashtag the cosmic mechanic. Maya Alvarez wiped grease from her hands as she floated through the zero-gravity repair bay of Orbital Haven. The massive space station hung like an industrial spider web around a small moon in neutral territory, its extended docking arms currently holding 3 vessels of different alien designs. "Chief Engineer, we've got another emergency request coming in," said the voice of her assistant through the comm. "Solarian merchant vessel claims their fusion drive is completely dead." Maya sighed. This would be the 4th emergency today. Ever since their station had fixed the Dravidian warship last month, they'd been flooded with repair calls. "Tell them to approach slow on auxiliary power. Bay 4 is clear," she said. Through the massive observation window, Maya watched as a sleek, blue-hulled ship limped toward the station. Solarian vessels were known for their beauty and efficiency, but this one looked rough. Scorch marks marred its hull, and only half its positioning thrusters seemed operational. "What happened to this poor thing?" she muttered. When the ship docked, the Solarian captain emerged. He stood nearly 7 feet tall with iridescent scales and 4 arms that moved with fluid grace despite his obvious distress. "Engineer Alvarez, I am Captain Zixtar. Our ship suffered catastrophic engine failure while passing through the Helden Nebula," he said, his translator giving his words a metallic edge. 3 repair stations have already declared it beyond salvation. They recommend scrapping the vessel." Maya nodded. "Let me take a look before we declare anything dead." The Solarian engine room was a marvel of precision. Everything was arranged in perfect symmetry, each component fitted with mathematical exactness. Too perfect, Maya thought. That was often the problem with alien engineering. Beautiful but inflexible. "Your antimatter containment failed here," Maya said, pointing to a charred section. "The safety protocols shut down the entire system." Captain Zixtar's head fins flattened in distress. "Yes. The design requires complete replacement of the entire propulsion system. It would cost more than a new ship." Maya laughed. "That's by the manual, sure. But we humans rarely do things by the manual." Over the next 8 hours, Maya and her team of 4 engineers worked on the Solarian ship. They disconnected systems that the aliens considered integrated. They bypassed circuits that were supposed to be untouchable. They improvised with materials that weren't in any standard repair guide. "This goes against all established engineering principles," said one of the Solarian engineers who watched with growing alarm. "The system linkages must maintain symmetrical energy flow. Human engineering principle number 1. "If it works, it works," replied Darius Jackson, Maya's newest team member. The young man had a natural talent for understanding alien tech despite minimal formal training. When Maya finally initiated the restart sequence, the engine hummed to life. It wasn't perfect. The energy efficiency was down 7%, but the ship could fly. Captain Zixtar stared in disbelief. "How is this possible?" "The damage was irreparable according to all known methods." Maya shrugged. "We humans are good at improvising. Our entire history is basically making do with what we have." As the Solarian crew prepared to depart, the captain approached Maya again. "The fee we agreed upon seems insufficient for what you've accomplished," he said. "The price is the price," Maya replied. "Though if you happen to mention us to any friends in need of repairs, we wouldn't mind." After the Solarian ship departed, Maya floated back to her small office overlooking the repair bays. Her comms console was already flashing with new requests. "Looks like you've got fans," said John Richards, the station commander, as he entered. "I just got word that 3 more Solarian merchants are changing course to reach us." Maya smiled. "Humans may not build the prettiest ships or have the most advanced technology, but nobody fixes things like we do." Little did she know that this reputation was about to change the fate of humanity and the galactic community forever. John Richards stared at the holographic display showing the traffic queue outside Orbital Haven. 27 ships now waited for repair services, more than triple their normal capacity. "This is getting out of hand, Maya," he said, running a hand through his graying hair. We've got vessels from 8 different species out there, including 3 we've never serviced before. Maya nodded, scrolling through work orders on her tablet. I know. I've called in everyone with technical experience on the station. Even reassigned some hydroponic staff who used to work maintenance. The station's success had come suddenly. For decades after humans ventured into space, they had struggled to find their place among advanced alien civilizations. Human ships were considered primitive, human sciences lagging, and human worlds barely worth trading with. Remember when we first opened? John asked. 6 months with only 3 customers. And now they won't leave us alone, Maya replied with a tired smile. The station's communications officer interrupted over the intercom. Commander, we're receiving a formal communication from the Galactic Repair Guild. Marked urgent. John sighed. Put it through to my office. And Maya, find me some good news before the end of the day. As John left to deal with the inevitable diplomatic complaints, Maya headed to Bay 2 where Darius Jackson was working on a Prezek scout vessel. The young engineer had arrived on Orbital Haven just 3 months ago. Despite minimal experience with alien technology, he had shown an uncanny ability to understand how different systems worked. His hands moved confidently among the glowing components of the Prezek engine, technology that most humans found completely counterintuitive. How's it coming? Maya asked. Darius grinned without looking up. Their gravitational dampeners were installed backwards. Can you believe that? The Prezek engineer swears it was correct, but I can see the wear patterns. It's been wrong since it left the factory. Can you fix it? Already did. I'm just reinforcing some stress points they never noticed. Should improve their efficiency by about 30%. Maya watched him work for a moment. Humanity might lack the advanced knowledge of older species, but they had something else. Adaptability. While alien engineers followed rigid protocols developed over thousands of years, humans approached each problem fresh. Darius, I'm putting you in charge of Bay 3 starting tomorrow. You'll have your own repair team. His eyes widened. Really? I've only been here 3 months. And you've fixed things our senior engineers couldn't figure out. We need your talents. As Maya turned to leave, the station shuddered slightly. Not dangerous, but unusual. What was that? Darius asked. Maya's communicator buzzed immediately. Chief Engineer to Bay 7 urgently. Unscheduled arrival. When Maya reached Bay 7, she found a massive Thraxian patrol ship docked. The Thraxians, hulking reptilian creatures with natural armor plates, were already on the station deck, their translator devices flashing as they spoke with security. Behind their ship, attached by energy tethers, floated another vessel unlike any Maya had seen before. It was ancient-looking, its hull design flowing in organic patterns that defied conventional engineering. Parts of it seemed to shift slightly, as though breathing. We found this derelict drifting near the Corbeth Expanse, the Thraxian captain explained. No life signs, no response to communication, but still powered somehow. We tried to investigate, but our systems, they became confused when interfacing with it. Maya approached the viewing window, staring at the mysterious ship. Confused how? Equipment malfunctions, navigation errors. 3 of my crew reported hallucinations after attempting to board it. The Thraxian scales rippled with obvious discomfort. We've brought it to you because humans seem to understand unusual things. As Maya studied the strange vessel, she realized why the station had shuddered earlier. The ship was emitting some kind of energy field that interacted with orbital haven systems. We'll need to quarantine it in the outer bay, she said. This is going to be interesting. Maya floated in the quarantine bay, her magnetic boots occasionally touching down to keep her oriented. The mysterious ship hung before her, its surface reflecting strange patterns of light that shouldn't exist in the steady illumination of the bay. Any progress understanding what we're looking at? John asked over the comm. Not much, Maya admitted. The hull material doesn't match anything in our database. When we scan it, the readings keep changing. The engineering team had spent 3 days studying the vessel without boarding it. Standard diagnostics either failed or returned nonsensical results. The ship seemed to actively resist being understood. "We need someone who can read the symbols," Maya finally said. "Get Olivia Martinez down here." Olivia arrived an hour later. The station's Sinolinguist had originally been hired to help with technical manuals and customer communications, but her skills went far beyond simple translation. "Fascinating," Olivia whispered, floating closer to the hull. "These aren't just decorative patterns. They're a form of writing I've only seen in historical archives." She traced the flowing lines with her finger, careful not to touch the actual surface. "If I'm right, this ship belonged to the Ardani." Darius, who had joined them in the bay, looked puzzled. "Never heard of them." "You wouldn't have," Olivia explained. "They disappeared from galactic records about 300 years ago. Some kind of conflict with the Sol Imperium. Most people thought they had been wiped out." Maya circled the ship. "So this vessel is 3 centuries old. How is it still operational?" "The Ardani were rumored to use technology that was partly organic," Olivia said. "Living ships, in a sense, though that's probably an exaggeration." After another day of careful study, Maya made the decision to board the ship. She selected a small team: herself, Darius, Olivia, and 2 security officers equipped with hazard suits. The entry hatch opened with surprising ease once Olivia identified the correct symbols to touch. Inside, the corridors were curved and flowing, with no sharp angles anywhere. Soft light emanated from the walls themselves. "This is incredible," Darius whispered. "Look how the pathways seem to adjust as we move through them." Olivia ran her scanner over panels covered in the flowing script. "The ship is damaged, but not in the way we understand damage. It's more like, it's ill." They eventually reached what appeared to be the command center. Unlike the bridge of most vessels, it was circular with a transparent dome overhead showing the stars. No chairs, no consoles, just subtle indentations in the floor and walls covered in the flowing script. "I think the Ardani interfaced differently with their technology," Olivia said. "These recesses might be where they stood to control the ship." As Maya examined what looked like an engineering access point, a holographic display suddenly activated. Strange symbols flowed through the air, accompanied by sounds like distant whale songs. "It's responding to our presence," Olivia said excitedly. "I think it's trying to communicate." Over the next several hours, with Olivia's help, they began to understand. The ship was indeed partly organic, with self-repairing systems that had kept it functioning for centuries. But something had damaged it on a fundamental level, not physical damage, but a corruption in its operating principles. "It's like a virus," Maya explained later to John, and a group of alien engineers who had gathered to observe. "The ship's systems are fighting against conflicting instructions." A Vexirian engineer made a dismissive gesture with his tendrils. "Impossible to repair. The integration is too complex." "Maybe for conventional methods," Maya replied. "But we don't know until we try." Darius, who had been quietly studying the data, suddenly looked up. "I think I understand why no one could fix it. Everyone's been trying to separate the systems, mechanical from organic, hardware from software. But this ship doesn't work that way. Everything is connected." Maya nodded slowly. "So we need to heal it, not just repair it." For the first time since the ship arrived, she felt a flicker of hope. This was exactly the kind of impossible problem humans excelled at solving. Paul Nguyen did not like what he was seeing on the security monitors. 3 different alien ships had arrived in the past day, all claiming to need repairs, but their crew movements seemed oddly coordinated. Something wasn't right. "Computer, track all non-human visitors who've accessed public terminal C-14, he ordered. The results confirmed his suspicions. Representatives from the major repair guilds were gathering information about Orbital Haven's methods. Not illegal, but concerning. Paul called John Richards immediately. "Commander, I think we have industrial spies on the station." John's response was calm but serious. "Keep monitoring them. Don't intervene unless they breach restricted areas." The situation had been building for weeks, As word of the humans' repair abilities spread, the established alien repair guilds had seen their business drop dramatically. Ships would bypass their facilities entirely, choosing to wait in line at Orbital Haven instead. In the main conference room, John faced a communication screen showing representatives from the Galactic Trade Coalition, an alliance of the most powerful commercial entities in the sector. "Your station is disrupting established trade patterns," said the Trilaxian spokesperson, their 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "We demand you share your repair techniques for proper licensing and regulation." John kept his expression neutral. "Our methods aren't secret technologies. They're just different approaches to problem solving. We're happy to demonstrate, but there's nothing to license." "Unacceptable," hissed a Vexurian guildmaster. "You must be using undocumented procedures that violate safety protocols." "We follow all safety regulations," John replied. "We just don't limit ourselves to conventional solutions." The meeting ended with a thinly veiled threat: "Share your methods or face trade restrictions." Meanwhile, in Engineering Bay 5, Maya was working with an unexpected apprentice. The young Zatari, named Krell, had arrived with a merchant vessel but had begged to stay and learn from the humans. "Your people approach problems differently," Krell explained, his translucent skin showing the excited flow of fluids through his body. "Our engineers train for decades to master specific systems, but you adapt." Maya showed him how to bypass a damaged power coupling on an old freighter. "Humans have always had to make do with what we have. For most of our history, we didn't have perfect tools or materials. But my instructors said there is only one correct way to balance a quantum drive," Krell insisted. "That's the ideal way, sure," Maya agreed. "But when you're stranded in space with limited resources, good enough keeps you alive better than perfect but impossible." As they worked, Maya noticed Darius across the bay, arguing with a hegemony engineer. The alien was insisting that human repair methods violated some ancient protocol. Darius looked frustrated but was holding his ground. Humans' approach to repairs was creating more than just business competition. It was challenging long-established beliefs about how things should be done. Later that day, Paul Nguyen intercepted Maya as she headed to the mess hall. "We've got a problem," he said quietly. "Someone accessed your personal files about the Ardani ship. They copied your repair logs." Maya frowned. "That information isn't classified, but it shouldn't be accessible to visitors." "It wasn't a visitor," Paul said grimly. "The access came from inside our own engineering section." Before Maya could respond, station-wide alarms began blaring. A voice came over the intercom. "All personnel to emergency stations. Incoming communication from the Galactic Trade Coalition." On the main view screen, the Trilaxian spokesperson appeared again. Its voice was cold and formal. "Orbital Haven Station, you are hereby ordered to cease all repair operations pending investigation into illegal technological practices. You have 24 hours to comply or face sanctions." John looked at Maya, his expression grim. "Looks like we've stirred up the hornet's nest." "They can't stop us from helping people," Maya said firmly. "No," John agreed, "but they can make it much harder." Paul Nguyen did not like what he was seeing on the security monitors. 3 different alien ships had arrived in the past day, all claiming to need repairs, but their crew movements seemed oddly coordinated. Something wasn't right. "Computer, track all non-human visitors who've accessed public terminal C-14, he ordered. The results confirmed his suspicions. Representatives from the major repair guilds were gathering information about Orbital Haven's methods. Not illegal, but concerning. Paul called John Richards immediately. "Commander, I think we have industrial spies on the station." John's response was calm but serious. "Keep monitoring them. Don't intervene unless they breach restricted areas." The situation had been building for weeks. As word of the humans' repair abilities spread, the established alien repair guilds had seen their business drop dramatically. Ships would bypass their facilities entirely, choosing to wait in line at Orbital Haven instead. In the main conference room, John faced a communication screen showing representatives from the Galactic Trade Coalition, an alliance of the most powerful commercial entities in the sector. Your station is disrupting established trade patterns, said the Trilaxian spokesperson, their four eyes blinking in sequence. We demand you share your repair techniques for proper licensing and regulation. John kept his expression neutral. Our methods aren't secret technologies. They're just different approaches to problem solving. We're happy to demonstrate, but there's nothing to license. Unacceptable, hissed a Vexirian guildmaster. You must be using undocumented procedures that violate safety protocols. We follow all safety regulations, John replied. We just don't limit ourselves to conventional solutions. The meeting ended with a thinly veiled threat. Share your methods or face trade restrictions. Meanwhile, in Engineering Bay 5, Maya was working with an unexpected apprentice. The young Zetari, named Krell, had arrived with a merchant vessel, but had begged to stay and learn from the humans. Your people approach problems differently, Krell explained, his translucent skin showing the excited flow of fluids through his body. Our engineers train for decades to master specific systems, but you adapt. Maya showed him how to bypass a damaged power coupling on an old freighter. Humans have always had to make do with what we have. For most of our history, we didn't have perfect tools or materials. But my instructor said there is only one correct way to balance a quantum drive, Krell insisted. That's the ideal way, sure, Maya agreed. But when you're stranded in space with limited resources, good enough keeps you alive better than perfect but impossible. As they worked, Maya noticed Darius across the bay, arguing with a hegemony engineer. The alien was insisting that human repair methods violated some ancient protocol. Darius looked frustrated but was holding his ground. Humans' approach to repairs was creating more than just business competition. It was challenging long-established beliefs about how things should be done. Later that day, Paul Nguyen intercepted Maya as she headed to the mess hall. We've got a problem, he said quietly. Someone accessed your personal files about the Ardani ship. They copied your repair logs. Maya frowned. That information isn't classified, but it shouldn't be accessible to visitors. It wasn't a visitor, Paul said grimly. The access came from inside our own engineering section. Before Maya could respond, station-wide alarms began blaring. A voice came over the intercom. All personnel to emergency stations. Incoming communication from the Galactic Trade Coalition. On the main view screen, the Trilaxian spokesperson appeared again. Its voice was cold and formal. Orbital Haven Station, you are hereby ordered to cease all repair operations pending investigation into illegal technological practices. You have 24 hours to comply or face sanctions. John looked at Maya, his expression grim. Looks like we've stirred up the hornet's nest. They can't stop us from helping people, Maya said firmly. The alarm woke Maya from a brief nap in her quarters. Red emergency lights flashed as the station's automated voice announced. Spatial anomaly detected. All personnel to emergency stations. She was halfway to the command center when she felt the first impact. The station shuddered violently, throwing her against the wall. Gravity fluctuated for a moment before stabilizing. The maintenance pod shuddered as Maya guided it into the outer edge of the anomaly. Warning indicators flashed across her control panel as the gravitational forces pulled at the small craft. I'm in position, she reported, fighting to keep her voice steady. Deploying the field projector now. From the pod's underside, the modified gravitational device extended. Maya had essentially turned the maintenance vehicle into a mobile anchor point that could counteract the anomaly's pull on the Morani shuttle. Back on Orbital Haven, everyone watched in tense silence. The Vexirian Guildmaster studied Maya's technique with growing respect. She's manually adjusting the field harmonics, he noted to Sam Franklin. I've never seen anyone attempt that during active gravitational flux. Sam nodded. That's Maya. Technical manuals are just suggestions to her. Inside her pod, Maya worked with instinctive precision. She couldn't rely on instruments alone. They fluctuated too wildly in the anomaly's influence. Instead, she watched the shuttle's hull, noting how it flexed and strained. then adjusted her projector to compensate. "The field is stabilizing," called Darius from the station. Marani shuttle structural integrity improving to 65%. For 3 hours, Maya maintained her dangerous position. When the power cells in her projector began to fail, Krell surprised everyone by volunteering to bring replacement cells in a second pod. "I've observed how Engineer Alvarez handles the approach," the young Zateri explained. "I believe I can replicate it." While they worked to save the ships, a group of alien engineers had gathered in Observation Room 3, watching the humans' methods with fascination. "They don't follow any standardized protocols," noted a Thraxian technician. "No," agreed a Presic engineer. "They improvise. Each solution is tailored to the specific problem, not based on categorical responses." In the command center, John met with representatives from the Galactic Trade Coalition who had been on the station when the crisis began. Their earlier hostility had faded as they watched the rescue operation unfold. "This is what we've been trying to explain," John told them. "Humans don't have secret techniques or special technology. We just approach problems differently." The Trilaxian spokesperson blinked its 4 eyes slowly. "We still don't understand how your engineers know what will work without following established procedures." John thought for a moment. "Humans evolved on a planet with constant change and dangers. We survived not by developing perfect solutions, but by adapting quickly to new problems. That mindset is at the core of our engineering philosophy." After 6 grueling hours, the anomaly began to dissipate. All 3 ships had been kept intact, though they would need extensive repairs. As Maya returned to the station, exhausted but triumphant, she was met with something unexpected: applause from humans and aliens alike. Later, in the station's lounge, Maya found herself sitting with the Vexirian Guildmaster and several other alien engineers. The mood was contemplative. "I studied engineering for 217 cycles," the Vexirian said. "I know every repair procedure in the combined guild manuals. Yet today, I saw solutions I would never have considered." Maya sipped her coffee. "The difference might be that humans don't see ships as just machines. We see them almost as living things, each with their own quirks and personalities." "Living things," repeated Krell thoughtfully. "Yes, that explains much. You treat repairs as healing, not just mechanical restoration." The conversation continued late into the night. Barriers that had existed for years began to break down as engineers from different worlds shared their perspectives. The crisis had created something rare, a space where ancient guild traditions and human ingenuity could meet as equals. Meanwhile, in the Quarantine Bay, the mysterious Ardani ship had been affected by the anomaly too. Its flowing script glowed brighter than before, and new patterns appeared on its hull. Olivia Martinez, working late, was the first to notice. "It's responding," she whispered to herself. "The ship is trying to communicate again." On her screen, the translation program finally made a breakthrough. One phrase repeated: "The records must be preserved. The warning must be delivered." Olivia immediately called Maya. Whatever secrets the ancient vessel held, they were finally ready to be revealed. The observation deck of Orbital Haven bustled with activity as representatives from 12 different species gathered for the opening ceremony. In just 3 months, what had begun as a repair station had transformed into the first interspecies engineering academy. Maya stood near the viewports, watching as ships of various designs docked at the newly expanded facility. The massive structure now included dedicated teaching areas, collaborative workshops, and research laboratories. "Never thought I'd see you in formal uniform," John remarked as he joined her. Maya tugged at the stiff collar of her dress uniform. "Blame the diplomats. Apparently, jeans and a work shirt aren't appropriate for meeting the Galactic Council representative." After the spatial anomaly incident, attitudes had changed dramatically. The repair guilds, witnessing the effectiveness of human methods firsthand, had shifted from opposition to curiosity. The Galactic Trade Coalition had withdrawn its threats of sanctions and instead proposed the creation of the Academy. Chief Engineer Alvarez, "They're ready for you," called in aid. Maya took a deep breath and headed to the podium where students and dignitaries waited. Among them sat Krell, now officially the first Centauri to enroll in the academy, alongside 200 other alien engineers. "I'm not much for speeches," Maya began. "I'm more comfortable elbow-deep in engine parts than talking about them. But today marks something important, not just for humans, but for everyone who travels among the stars." She gestured to the diverse crowd. For centuries, different species developed their own engineering traditions. Each approach has strengths, but also limitations. What we've discovered is that by combining these perspectives, we can solve problems that once seemed impossible. In the front row, Darius sat beside Sam Franklin. The younger engineer had reluctantly accepted a teaching position, while Sam had come out of retirement to share his decades of experience. "The human touch in engineering isn't about special knowledge," Maya continued. "It's about approaching each problem with fresh eyes. It's about seeing connections between seemingly unrelated systems. And most importantly, it's about remembering that behind every broken ship are people counting on us to get them home safely." As Maya spoke, the Ardani ship floated in its special dock, visible through the large viewports. After weeks of careful work, they had successfully communicated with the vessel's semi-organic systems. What they discovered had sent shockwaves through the galactic diplomatic community. The ship contained historical records documenting a massive conflict that had nearly destroyed several civilizations 3 centuries ago. More crucially, it held warnings about an ancient automated defense system that was still active in a remote sector, one that several species were currently planning to colonize. "The Ardani ship reminds us that sometimes what seems broken is simply misunderstood," Maya said. "By learning to communicate with it, we not only preserved a lost history, but potentially prevented another tragedy." After the ceremony, Maya escaped the formalities to visit the engineering bay. Paul Nguyen joined her, his security team now expanded to handle the influx of visitors. "Still can't believe how quickly things changed," he said. "From industrial espionage to open collaboration in just 3 months." Maya smiled. Nothing brings people together like a common problem to solve. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent call from the communications officer. "Chief Engineer, we're receiving a distress signal from deep space. It's unlike anything we've seen before." The message contained fragments of 12 different languages, an impossible technological signature, and coordinates from uncharted space. "Assemble a response team," Maya ordered immediately. Mixed group, humans, and aliens with diverse specialties. As the chosen engineers gathered their equipment, Maya gazed out at the stars. Humanity had found its place in the galactic community not through military might or technological supremacy, but through an ability that had defined their species since they first picked up tools on Earth, seeing broken things and finding ways to make them work again. "Ready for another impossible fix?" Darius asked, joining her with his toolkit. Maya nodded, feeling that familiar spark of anticipation that came with facing a new challenge. Always. The repair shuttle launched from Orbital Haven, carrying this unique team toward the unknown. Whatever awaited them would face a group united by the simple, powerful human philosophy that had changed interstellar relations forever. Anything can be fixed if you approach it with the right mindset.